This is going to be interesting. This is part 2 of a 2-part presentation. And I know that half of you were not in part 1. So we're going to try some little techniques to catch you up pretty well. My name's Tollefson, and I'm a consultant. I work primarily with immersion schools in Chinese and Portuguese, but I work all over the country, and I get to see fabulous instruction. One of the most fabulous teachers I've ever seen is really Bueno. She is. She's going to help me do some demos today. Those of you who were here yesterday know what a great teacher she is. So, are you all right? So, this is part 2. Would you raise your hands if you were not here yesterday? Okay. Would you raise your hands if you were here yesterday? All right. So, we're going to ask you before we get started, for those of you who were here yesterday, to find someone who wasn't here yesterday and take 5 minutes and tell them what you learned yesterday. This is our little review session, okay? Raise your hand if you weren't here yesterday so they can find you. Okay, I hope this helped a little bit. We did not want to go back to ground 1 for those of you who were here yesterday to bore you to death. But we did yesterday talk about 3 goals. First of all, finding techniques to engage all learners all the time, right? That's what you want to do. To check for understanding and to help in our classroom management, right? And we talked about the big ideas. We're not going to go back over these again. Students need to be cognitively engaged. Anybody from yesterday want to give a definition of cognitively engaged? Yes?
They should be thinking when they're doing the activity.
Thinking, not just following rote directions, etc. Okay. Then the prompt is everything. We're always going to be looking for ways to elicit more production, more words from kids. So rather than asking them questions that get one-word responses, we were looking for questions that they're open-ended, that engage, that ask kids to give a lot. Instead of what do you wear to school, which gets a novice response, something like how do you decide what to wear to school, which allows kids to demonstrate better proficiency. So that was a big idea too. I'm sorry, I'm trying to really work through these. And also that these TPTs are wonderful ways to assess what kids are learning so that we don't arrive at the test, at the final unit, whatever, and the kids don't know anything, and we didn't know they didn't know anything. There's no excuse for that. There were lots of ways to figure out what they know. So, I'm going to really whip through these. Okay. We asked you to give those exit cards yesterday, do you remember? Well, I read every one of them. And one of the things that you most said is you wanted more cooperative learning techniques. A lot of you mentioned that. I probably came up on 10 cards. So I was going to tell you that there is a session right after this, right across the hall, that's going to be all on cooperative learning techniques. So if you really are interested in cooperative learning and pair work, etc., it's Peggy Boyles and Greta Lundgaard. They're wonderful presenters. And I would encourage you to go over that. Lots of the techniques we have here do use cooperative learning, but that's a special session on that. You also said you wanted more activities that require less prep time. Well, there are lots of them. I understand. That's why we have those. If you looked at the ones we had yesterday, right, they were all ones that you can just pull out like that. I'd also tell you in the book, and I actually brought the book today if anybody wants to look at it, there is a whole I don't want to say a chapter, but there's a list of 50 things that you could put in a packet for kids so kids can just pull them out and do them, and they require no prep time. If you'd like to look at that, we actually have done that in teacher training when we have more time than we have here, so that every child at his or her desk has like the numbers A, B, C, and D, or the letters A, B, C, and D. So if you want to do one of those, the kids pull them out and show them. So it's called a TPT kit, and you're welcome to look at this book when you have a chance, but it has ideas for doing that. But most of the things we're looking at today, and we looked at yesterday, are things that don't really take much prep time, right? Because we don't have time, especially in our STARTALK programs. You also said you wanted more for less commonly taught languages. All these are for less commonly taught languages, every one of them. You know, these aren't even made for language teachers. They're made for social studies and math teachers, et cetera. So you can adapt any of these techniques to less commonly taught languages. You said you wanted more for beginning learners. Well, these are pretty much for beginning. Then you started one for more advanced learners. But I will tell you, Chapters 7 and 8 in this book are for very advanced learners. So if you're a university teacher or you're training university staff, there's some fabulous activities. But you know, in 2 hours, we cannot cover all this. So if you have it, and again, you can buy this on Amazon or you can buy it, and I do not get a cut, not even a dime. But I encourage you to do that. So we're trying to give you ones middle of the road that we think you can adapt for any learner. Pardon me? It's on your handout. You can get it through ASCD. If you're a member, you get a discount. You can get it through Amazon. But the ones that are for more advanced learners, as you can imagine, take a lot of time to go through and think about, and they're not really for a short workshop. So you also asked for more techniques to differentiate instruction, and we're going to ask you as we go through these today to talk about that, to think about that, and to share with each other ways you can differentiate. It is a problem, is it not? Especially in your STARTALK program. We have programs that have up to 8 levels of instruction. And it's just insane. And they want to use the same curriculum. So if you're going to use the same curriculum for all these kids, you really have to work at differentiation. So as you go through these techniques today, look for ways to do that. And let's talk about it, okay? You also wanted more techniques that require movement. Well, ta-da! Chapter 6 is all activities that require movement, okay? So you're going to have to, you know, when we do this as a half-day or a full-day workshop, we demonstrate all of the techniques, so you're moving the whole time. But we just, STARTALK hasn't given us enough time to do that. So. And then you said, try in a language other than English. In this workshop, I don't know how we would do that, but I just don't know how we would do that, but I'm sorry. I could do it in French, but you would not know what I was saying. Okay. All right, so we just did this review and coaching. Those of you who just came in, what's the one big idea that somebody told you? This is your, I'm going to check here for learning. Yes?
I heard that it helps engaging all of the students. It was so active. It was good, so I'm coming to check and see.
Okay, great. Anybody else get a big idea from the person who was here yesterday? Uh-oh. Maybe, yes.
Drawing a picture, one person describes a picture to another person who draws it, and then the third person interprets.
If we have time at the end of the day, we're going to demo that again, because we did that so quickly. Everybody has such fun with that activity, and it really does a lot. So if we have time at the end, and you want to stay, we'll go ahead and try that again, because it's really a lot of fun. Okay? Anything else? Okay, so we're going to charge ahead here. Okay. So what we're going to do, oh, I'm sorry. You can tell this is day 2. So what we're going to do in the first 20 minutes of this workshop, just like we did yesterday, at your table, we hope you'll do this in small groups. You're going to go through the activities in chapters 5 and 6 on your handout. And you'll notice chapter 5 is what kinds of activities? Somebody tell me what's chapter 5? Hold-ups, things kids can hold up so you see, okay? Now remember what we said yesterday. It's really critical that you make sure you ask afterwards. If you have kids hold up yes or no, then you're going to debrief, right? Because otherwise you're going to end up with one-word responses and it won't work. So always, with all these activities, think not just doing that, but what would you do after you did that activity? And then what is chapter 6? TPTs. Involving movement, and that's what a lot of you said you wanted to see. Of course, if you teach in elementary school, what did they say the attention span of a human being is? About the person's age, right? So if you have a 6-year-old, it's about 6 minutes. And if you're an 18-year-old, it's about 18 minutes. And I think after that, it starts to decline again. Teachers, I'm not sure. So at any rate, so we have to keep changing and moving, and especially with little kids, it's important. So we're going to do the same thing we did yesterday. You have more time because you have more things. You're going to look at activities in 5 and 6, go through them, talk at your table. Remember, what are we talking about? How can you use it to differentiate? How can you use it to check for understanding? So take some serious time at your table and talk about it. And then we're going to debrief again after about 20 minutes, okay? And if you're by yourself, go find somebody else. Okay, I think we are ready. Boy, you guys are blowing the roof off with ideas. Woohoo! We heard some fabulous ideas. So, let's start with that table back there. They came up with a whopper. Oh, wait a minute. Peggy's going to tell us about her session about cooperative learning that's next. Peggy?
asked me to mention our session that's next door, across the hall after this one. It really dovetails nicely into what you all are doing here. It is on the STARTALK principle of learner-centered classrooms, and we're going to be demoing a lot of cooperative learning strategies, some of which are not here. For example, jigsaw reading, and we're doing round robin, which is, speaking in a conversation that's organized, round writing, mixed pair share with music. So we're going to be doing more of what you're doing here. So Ann wanted me to mention what we're doing. So we're across the hall, and that's right.
Especially those of you who were interested in cooperative learning, because that came up a lot last night in your exit cards, okay? All right, thank you, Peggy. I asked her to come here. We call this a promo. Peggy Boyles and Greta Lungard. It's 4, just go across the hall. Okay, so this is the time. I think you found in talking to each other, didn't you get some great ideas? Boy, we are smart, aren't we? Our teachers. So I'm going to start with that group back there because they had a really interesting app I think you're going to want to learn about. So would you guys, Lily's going to bring you a mic.
I have a pretty loud voice. Okay. A lot of our teachers are using an app now called Clickers. So it looks like the word clicker.
There's the word up here.
So it's an app where you, or a website that you download, I think 35 different cards, and each card has a number on it.
Would you show them on your iPads so they have an idea what it is? It's a fabulous idea.
Get it for me on Safari. And the idea is that every card has a shape on it that looks kind of like a blob of black color. It doesn't quite look like a QR code. All right, yeah, here they are. So there's a whole series of cards you download for free, and each one has a number, and each one is unique. Now on each of these cards, in little tiny print, there's an A, a B, a C, and a D on each side. So you assign a card to a particular kid. So you say you're number 4, you're number 5, you're number 6, you're number 7. You want to know that later for data. And then you set up your questions on the website, similar to Kahoot, if you've ever used Kahoot.
Yes.
So you're going to set up your questions. When you show the questions, the children hold their shape up whatever way the letter is up. So if they think the answer is C, they're going to turn their shape so the letter C is up. Does everybody get that? Now here's the magical part. Will this do it?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right. So then you have the app on your phone as well, and you can scan the room, and all of the results pop up on the screen.
Is that fabulous?
Now, to keep kids from feeling bad about who didn't get what right, what you can make show on the screen is just a data bar that says this many people got A, this many people got B. But on your phone, you see which kid didn't get it right and which kid did. And so that's good data for you about, and I've watched second graders do this all the way up through. Miriam uses it in high school. So it's a great app, and it's free. One of the things my teachers did learn, though, watch out laminating the cards, because if it's reflective, it may not read the phone may not read it because they may flash back. So you have to make sure it's kind of a matte kind of lamination if you do it. And then the other one we just shared at the table is something we call High Five. And so the kids all write an answer on a card, which is some kind of prompt, like, why do you think the character did that in the story? And so I write why I think he did it. And then I turn to a partner and I say, well, I think he did it because he was jealous. And what do you think?
I don't think so.
You don't think? I said, so now we trade cards. Now I have to remember what she said because I have to now tell that to somebody else. So I have to actually listen to my friend. So now once we're finished with each other, I put my hand in the air and I'm looking for someone else who is ready to have a new partner. So I walk over to that partner, we high five. I say, well, she said this.
Well, I just found out that Mary
Yep. Okay, perfect. We trade cards, then we both raise our hands and we're looking for another partner. So it's a really nice cross-pollination kind of activity. And we call it high five. If it's flu season, we call it elbow bump.
Oh, the realities of teaching. And remember with those A, B, C, D answers, they can be as complex as you want them to be. You can have, for example, what are the causes of the Civil War? And the kids have to vote on the one they think is the most important. It doesn't have, and then you ask them, remember, they have to explain their answer, defend their answer, et cetera. So that's a fabulous, isn't that a great sense? Oops, sorry. That was an elbow bump. Okay, another table, because I heard great ideas at every single table. Come on, guys. How about that? Ray, how about something at your table? Did you guys come up with something interesting?
Yeah, a couple of things. One thing I mentioned is follow up on the clicker idea, the holdups, is if you get like kind of a 50-50 split between true and false or yes or no, instead of just telling the class what the right answer is, have them go talk to someone that had a different answer than them. We call it convince someone. And then you have them, after they've talked for a minute, you have them do it again. And usually the vote improves. They gravitate. It might take 3 times, but eventually everyone talks to someone and figures out what the right answer is.
That's the great example of the follow-up you do with a yes, no, or an A, B, C, D, or something else. Because think of all the language involved with defending a position. Now, if they're a first grader, I mean, they can't do that, but that's because somebody asked what for the more advanced learner. Well, that's the kind of stuff we do with the more advanced learner. Okay. Did you have another idea at your table, you said? Okay, so another table. You know that I'm going to come after you if you don't volunteer. Yes.
Yes, I do one activity, I call it jigsaw activities, like a little bit variation of what we have here in our handout. Number has together, like let's say if you have 12 people in your class, you can make a group of 3, group A, group B, and group C. And every group, I assign the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have to work on 3 questions. The group A will work on question 1, group B will work on question 2, and group C will work on question 3. So group 1, 2, 3, 4 students of group A will discuss among themselves that question, and the group that this is the similar way the group B will do, and the similar way the group C will do. Then what I do, I call this activity, I shuffle them around. I call group 1 of each group and put them together, and 2 of each group and put them together, and 3 of each group and put them together. So that all these groups, again, I discuss these 3 questions. This is the way the whole class knows all the answers.
Okay, that's a great idea, isn't it? Okay. Come on, guys, we got more great ideas. I heard it, yeah.
When we had been speaking about, I'm really interested in simulations. I think they can be really valuable ways to create authentic learning experiences. So we had actually been speaking about the. Hello. So we've been speaking about how they recreated markets and restaurants, which I think is a really rich language experience for kids, and it's fun. And actually, we have a whole food section to our program that I would love to build on and have them recreate all these different scenarios where they have to use real authentic experiences where even if you were traveling, that's exactly what you'd be doing. And I think you could simulate it like a very quick thing if you wanted to do school as formal, or you could do a very elaborate end of program kind of thing where they have real food and there's many other authentic recreated scenarios. Like they were describing, they recreated bunnies, they had haggle. It sounded amazing, and so I would love to sort of incorporate that.
Yeah, there are quite a few of our STARTALK programs who do that. They have final markets, night markets, is that right? Those of you in Chinese? Yeah, right?
We have a night market where and the parents and family and the community are invited. So they bargain they bargain in the native.
That's sort of a Chinese tradition, right, the night market?
Yeah,
Okay.
night market.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Come on, somebody else. We've got to have other ideas here. There's one right here.
So what we do is we basically, when we are trying to introduce a new concept, we ask students to write sentences, and then we cut up those sentences and put them in a file. And then they're asked to come and in two groups, and they come, each group one at a time, and they have to pick up the sentence and basically recreate the whole sentence correctly. So this forces them to think again as to what that concept was, and then they're able to put the sentence together back.
Great. Have you ever taken a poem and broken it into pieces and give each kid a piece and they have to arrange their bodies in the right order to recreate the poem? That is a lot of fun. Do you see what I mean? Each person has one or two words, and then they have to arrange their bodies to make it. It does involve movement. Okay, anybody else? Yes.
Okay, I'm teaching Chinese, and because the Chinese, sentence words order in the sentence is different from that in English. So I have my students work in group. For example, a 4 or 5 person group, and for student A, you have to come up with the subject. Student B, you have to come up with, okay, time, like what time, okay, does the subject do, does certain thing. And then student C has to think about a place, like in what place you do certain thing. The subject does a certain thing. And then student B has to say the action, the verb. And then student E has to say the object. And then next student, you are going to, combine everybody has said into a complete sentence. Because in Chinese, subject always goes first, then time, then place, STPVO. Okay, subject, okay, T means time, P means place, and then V is the verb, and then object, STPVO, we call that. So STPVO, 5 person maybe working in group of 6. So, so for example, you say he, okay, give us a time, like Sunday or at 2 o'clock or something. Okay, so he, Saturday at 5, and give an action, like do what? Huh?
Action?
Yeah, if you say do something. Okay, so he at 5, on Saturday, play game. Okay, so now would you please complete the sentence?
Play game with a beautiful girl.
Somebody. No, cool.
They're
But
really
something.
recreating.
He at 6 o'clock Saturday play games. So it's not like he plays games at 6 o'clock, but in Chinese he but what place? We didn't mention what place yet.
With a beautiful girl.
Oh, that's at a beautiful girl's house.
This is getting risque. I don't know.
So you have to say a complete, then the whole group will have to speak the complete sentence. So that's group work. Okay,
That's
everybody's,
kind of like the poem idea, but here you're doing sentence order. Yeah, that's good.
because it's different from English. In English, you always put the place or the time at the end. But Chinese, no. So that way we can.
Oh darn, and I've been making all those mistakes in Chinese all these years. Kidding. Okay, fabulous ideas. Think about that, That's one of the strengths of this workshop is just comparing. Lily's now going to do her demo, but I also wanted to show you, if you get a chance to look at this book, there is a list of, they call it a TPT folder or a kit. And when we did this training for immersion teachers in Utah, we gave each teacher a kit. And then each teacher made a kit for their students. But they have all of the props that you need to do any of this stuff. So they had a set of cards, A, B, C, D, laminated. They had a set of numbers, like in Chinese or French or whatever, 1 through 10, so that you could have the kids for hold-ups. They had a whiteboard, or if you can't afford a whiteboard, they just took a piece of typing paper, laminated it, put it in the kit, and then had a dry erase pen and a sock for an eraser. So that every child at his or her desk had everything that that child needed. It saves time. You don't have to be passing stuff up and picking stuff up. They have them. So if you're interested in looking at the book, if it disappears, I will hunt you down, because this is all marked up. But you can see the TPT folders in here, and you can see the depth of the information that's in this book. Okay, so Lily is now, what is this, true or false? Oh, I forgot about this. Before Lily does her demo, I keep hitting my elbow here. This is a true or false. I want you to hold up yes or no, true or false. TPT stands for total power to the teacher. Come on, I want votes here. All right, we all, well, pretty much that, right? So, okay, so Lily, you're going to do your demo. Photo flash.
All right. So first, I need to explain a little bit how it looks.
By the way, we only have about 5 minutes.
That's fine. We can do it very quickly. Okay, can you go to the other PowerPoint? Okay, in my classroom, so let's say this is a table group that I have in my classroom. So you are red, you are blue, you are red, you are blue, red, blue, red, blue. And there is not one question that goes on without pair sharing. That it has to be like that. And 2012 was the first time that I could learn from Anne about total participation technique. And I've been doing more and more every day. And kids love it. They know exactly what to do it. So you not only share with your pair, but all blues are sharing. And I say, OK, all blues stand up. And they need to switch place. And they keep going, going, going. And they love it. So this photo flash is not going to be exactly how it was in my classroom. I need the other PowerPoint. Yeah. But we just finished mammals and reptiles and amphibians. And I have about 50 cards with the animals, and we've done at least 10 different activities with these cards. But one of them, I did not bring my PowerPoint here because it's all in Portuguese. I didn't think it was going to be kind of easy to do with you guys because you're not in my 4th grade classroom. You haven't been in my class since 1st grade. But anyway, so I have a scenario in there, so because it has to be contextualized. So I'm going to give one for each table so you can kind of feel how it's going to be. But then I have a scenario, and the kids are going to have to know, OK, this animal has furs or hair, or what this animal eats, or where this animal, where the habitat is. So if it's the trees, or if it is the water, or if it is the soil. And it's so cute because they really know. So the first thing they would do right now is to do you have 4? Yeah. Yes. It would be to do the sharing about your animal, and then switch places, and then you know everything about your animal, and you know if it lives on the tree or whatever it lives. Then I started the scenario right here. I started with water or whatever they eat or whatever they do, and then each hold up and say, it's my animal, and why? But I cannot do it right now, but just so you can get a little taste what it looks like.
It's there.
It's the next one. This was for the, OK. So I'm just going to put a wording here, and you need to pay attention to yours, OK? So everyone has just one card or not, because I don't have enough for everyone. I have about 50 of those, and here I just brought 4. No, it's OK. I think everyone. So if you see your animal, just hold up for me, OK? And whoever does it first is going to be good, OK? O esquilo. Oh, I saw over there. And now you need to tell the class about your animal and why you chose your animal. But here in my class, instead of this picture, I would have the scenario. Does that make sense? About the habitat, the food, and everything. So let's try one more. O gato. Oh, good job. O gato, muito bem. O macaco. Ah, you speak Spanish. That's right. O golfinho. Yeah, and that's when they love it. Oh, it's a mammal, but lives inside, but lives underwater. Oh, I can't believe it. But it breathes through the lungs. How come, teacher? Where are the furs? So anyway, it's a lot of fun. There are tons of stuff that you can do. And now, thank you so much for telling me about the high five, because now I'm going to do the high fives with those. But there are tons of different things that you can just do with a photo flash with your students, and you can add more language. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to do any more, but you can get an idea. So,
All right,
yeah.
so if you look at that, is she great? If we could just all have a Lily in our classrooms, right? Wouldn't it be fabulous? So, okay, if you have a minute at the end, there's that last page in your handout. We hope that if you attended both sessions especially, but even one, that you came away with one great idea, at least, that you can take back to your classrooms and try. I encourage you to keep coming. This seems to become a tradition, this workshop, so maybe we'll do it in the spring and bring ideas, because we need to share these kinds of ideas. So thank you very much for coming. It's time. Thank you.